Hello everyone, it's Maddie with Spectrum Art Creations. Welcome back to part 3 of the 12 Days of Christmas. So we are continuing to build our beautiful album from scratch, and today in part 3 we're going to be covering days 3, 4, and 5. So if you missed days 1 and all the prep work and days 2 and 3, you can go back and there's a playlist in the description box down below. But in the meantime, we're just going to jump right in because you guys are already on day 3, 4, and 5, so we know what we're doing, right? So starting with this gorgeous page right here, this is going to be our focus for today. And of course, this is the beautiful 4 calling birds, 12 by 12. Okay, now I do apologize ahead of time because we are having a major thunderstorm here in Florida, and you are going to hear some rumbling throughout. So if you hear a lot of rumble, that's what it is. We are going to be cutting this almost right down the middle, right in front of his beak. So what we're going to do is we're going to be cutting at 7.5, and that's going to leave a 4.5 piece. So we're going to go right in front of his beak, as I mentioned. And you can see just how close we came to that beak. Okay, so that is what we need. And then we're going to take that same piece and we're going to turn it on its side. And we're going to cut that at 8.5 inches. Right there. So now we've got this piece here, and next we're going to need 2 flaps that are going to measure 3 by 3 3/4. Now this piece right here we're going to save for later. And by the way, this also, the bottom piece makes a great fussy cutting piece for your front cover later on if you want to save that. So let's look at this piece right here. This is 3.5 inches wide, and we'll need to trim it down because we only need 3 inches, but this way it's going to be perfect. So we're going to cut 2 pieces out of this that are 3.75. So we're going to keep that side, the one that's a little bit over 3, but we're going to cut the long ways at 3.75. So 3 3/4. And with that cut, that's going to give us 2 pieces that are now perfect at 3.75. So cut at 3 inches. And now we're going to do it again. We're going to cut this also at 3. Make sure you're not cutting that 3.75 side. And we've got our 2 pieces, and then all of this is going to go into the scrap pile, right, for later. So again, don't throw anything away. And now we're going to bring back our template or guide. And as you can see, we're going to lose some of these really pretty ornaments here on the left hand side, but let's mark our holes right there. So those will be ready for when we are ready to punch. Of course, you can also punch as we go along, and you can see just how beautiful this page is. Yeah, sure, we're going to have a little bit missing from this side, but our focus is going to be on this side anyway. It's going to be on the right hand side, obviously. Now let's bring that scoreboard back. Let's move these. Let's grab these. These we're going to score at 1/4 inch. So these are going to go here, and you can decide which way you want them to face. You can either use the gold side on the outside, or maybe you want the gold beads on the inside. Totally up to you. So we're going to score on the left hand side at 1/4 inch, like so. And then the next piece, same thing. Just make sure you check your orientation if you have one, which I don't, but 1/4 of an inch on the left hand side. And now we've got our 2 pieces. Let's put that off to the side for now. Now we're going to grab these, we're going to pinch, and then we're going to burnish that down. And so now you have this little flap right here. And we're going to do that again with the second piece. And we're going to grab our corner rounder and we're going to round our 2 right hand side corners, the ones without the flap. And again on the second piece. And now those are going to get adhered onto our page. Now how far? That's totally up to you. So kind of look at your layout first. You can go closer, you can go further away, you can go further in, you can even put one at an angle at the top and one towards the bottom. So long as we don't cover our beautiful bird, that's all that really matters. That's up to you. And then of course you can decide if later on you're going to want these to be pockets, so consider that as well. The other thing to consider also is if you want to use your tab punch and create some little tabs for your flaps. So you can use that and create little tabs here to help it flip, or you can move one, this way and then one catty corner on the bottom. Again, totally up to you as to what is your preference and what looks good to you. And I am just simply using my other one to kind of align this one. Make sure we are nice and even on all edges. And that gives us the 2 flaps. Okay, so this page, well, let me burnish that down so it behaves a little bit more, is pretty much done for now. Again, remember, we are working on prepping all of our pages first, and then we're going to come back and decorate and add all the extra little bits that are going to be lots of fun. But that completes page or day 4 for now. Let's move on to 5 golden rings. So we're going to need the 5 golden rings, 12 by 12, this beauty right here. So I'm going to pause here and just give you a couple of seconds to break out your cutter again and your 5 golden rings 12 by 12 page. Okay, now on this page, we are going to cut this at 7.5 inches from the right hand side. If you want, if it's easier, just turn it upside down like this and cut at 7.5. And cut. And now that gives us these 2 pieces here. They were originally like this. Wait, hang on. This is like a puzzle now. Okay, I'm gonna figure this out. Hang on just one second. Got it. So now we have a 7.5 inches on that side, and we're gonna take that piece, which now measures 7.5, as I had mentioned. And we're going to take that piece, we're going to turn it, and we're going to cut it at 8.5 from the bottom. So now here we're going to have the beautiful golden ring at the top and then the green foliage on the bottom left hand side. So we're going to set that off to the side for now because that's our main page. And now we're going to cut from these 2 pieces our interactive features for this page. Okay, so on this piece we've got 3 rings, on this one we've got 1, and we want to keep all of those rings. So for now we're going to work on this piece right here. This is a 4.5 by 12, and we're going to cut this from the bottom at 5 3/4. So we're going to flip it on its side, and we're going to cut at 5 3/4. And that's going to help us keep that ring right in the center. Now from the same piece, we're going to turn it and we're going to cut it at 4 inches. So you can do left, you can do right, just make sure you keep that ring in there, 4 inches, and there we go. And we're going to save this for later. Now, from the top of the page, we're going to need a 3.5 by 5.25 piece. Originally, this piece, as it is, of course, measures 4.5 by 6.25. So 4.5 by 6.25. We're going to, on the 6.25 side, we're going to be trimming that down to 5.25, keeping those rings in sight. So let's turn this and trim at 5.25. Again, looking for those rings, making sure I'm not cutting the wrong way. So 5.25, and then we're going to turn that, and we're going to need to trim it down to 3.5, which means we need to shave off an inch. Again, you can see that the ring on the right hand side is pretty close to the edge, so instead I'm going to take my inch from the other side, and I'm going to trim it down to 3.5. And you can see just how precise these cuts are in order to ensure that it all works perfectly aligned. And now we've got 2 rings at 3.5 by 5.25. Okay, and we can set that one off to the side. And now we've got one last one to work with. We're going to bring this one here. From this piece, we're going to need a 3 by 4.75. So we're going to take the 4.75 from this longer side here, keeping that ring in sight at all times. Okay, so we're going to cut this side first at 4.75. Again, keep that ring in sight. Cut. Okay, and now we're going to trim that down to 3. Again, keeping that ring in sight. Cut at 3 inches, like so. And now we've got the 3 by 4.75. Save that off to the side, and then these will go in our scrap pile for later. And then we're going to bring the scored board back in. Now these 3 pieces are going to become flaps as well, so we're going to grab them. We've got these 3 right here. We're going to grab those and we're going to turn them sideways. Start with the first one, and we're going to be scoring at 1/4 inch. So turn and score 1/4 inch. Just like so. We're going to grab the next one and we're going to do the same thing. And again, just check your orientation though. Score at 1/4 inch at the top. That's going to be our second flap. And then we're going to do it again. We're going to turn that third piece, again making sure of my orientation. And we're also going to score that at 1/4 inch. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, and we're going to set that off to the side. And now we're going to burnish those down. So we're going to pinch, and then we're going to burnish those down really nice, all of our flaps. This one as well. This is coming together super easy, super quickly, I hope for you guys. And now we're going to grab the corner rounder and we are going to round both sides of the bottom of our little flaps on all 3 of our pieces. Okay, now let's move on to our next piece, which is going to be, we're going to need some golden tabs. So once again, whatever tab you're using, whether it's the tab punch or the Spectrum whale tail set or whatever other set you may have, or if you're just doing them by hand, or maybe punching out a circle and folding it in half, we're going to need some tabs. So this is going to be, it's about 3/4 of an inch. So I'll do like 1.5 inches. You know what? Let's give it a little bit more. Hang on. Let's be safe and make it so that it's comfortable, and we'll do 1.25 or 2 inches. And again, you know, you might have a different punch and your measurements might be different. I'll do 2. I need 3 of those, so we're going to need 3 flaps. We're going to bend one way first and then bend the other to prevent the cracking. Again, as I had explained on the first day, I believe, or the second day, foiled cardstock does tend to crack at times. So you want to kind of work that paper first to break it down without it cracking. And we need one more, 2 inches. And we're going to put that off to the side. And now we're just going to work on creating 3 of those tabs, 1 for each of our flaps. And again, this is perfect. I know we have silver, of course, and we are going to use some silver throughout, but it's 5 golden rings, right? Just like the song says. So it's perfect to use this gorgeous foiled paper. And again, we're just kind of working it in here to create a double tab. We had already covered this on a previous day, so I'm not going to bore you with the details on how that works. Again, if you have missed any of this, you can always go back to the beginning and start with day 1 or video 1, and then work your way towards, you know, this part and then the others. It's best if you kind of go in order in case I've covered anything previously. All right, let's punch out the second one. There's another double tab, and then our final third one. Okay, and we can save those little bits here for corners if you like. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to adhere our tabs onto each of our flaps. You can break out your ruler if you like and measure the center of those. I am going to just kind of eyeball it and place them on here as such. We're going to add glue to 1/2 on the back only, and then that's going to help us to place that right on here. I'm going to use that little bump there, that little hump on the tab as my guide, and then once I've ensured that it looks nice and aligned, I'm going to pinch down, and then I'm going to flip it over and adhere the other side. And I'm going to continue to do this for all 3. On to the second one. And it doesn't matter what order you adhere them, obviously. We're just going to do the same thing to all 3. So you can start with the smallest and work to the largest, or vice versa. Again, just making sure I am nice and aligned. And we do need to do this first because once we put it on our page, you will notice that we're going to need those tabs on there in order to figure out our spacing. So this page is pretty tight as far as, you know, the elements that are going to be on there. So we need to not only place them right, and remember we started with cutting them right because we need those 5 golden rings. Of course, if you miscut something, it's not the end of the world. You do not need to have the 5 golden rings on there. This is just an extra bonus. So please don't make it, to the point where you're gonna be upset or sad if you miscut something and now you're missing a ring. That's fine. It's a little detail, which is great, and we maximized our paper, which is wonderful as well. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If all you get is 2 flaps because you miscut and now you're out of one of the flaps, or you need to shorten one even more, work with what you've got. It's not a big deal. But the way that I am doing it, it is extremely precise that we not only cut right, but that we place everything right. So those are going to go there. Make sure your text is all facing the right way. So don't adhere this upside down. You're not going to see a lot of the text. So in all honesty, even if you did, again, see, it wouldn't be, a do or die situation. We're going to place all 3 of these on here. We are going to start by looking at this large one, and then we're going to do our placement first, because we want to make sure that our tab is not sticking out of our page. And then we're going to bring in the top one. And again, see, we can't count with that piece all the way on the left hand side because we still need to have our holes for the page. Okay, so now we've got our 5 golden rings, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what we need to do next is bring in the template, because before we glue anything down, we have got to allocate and secure the space for our holes. So let's go ahead and mark where our holes are going to be by bringing back in our template. See, we can't glue that there because then of course we can't, that's going to be underneath the spine. So let's bring in our template, and we're going to mark where our holes are going to be, and that gives us an idea. We know that we have our holes, and you know what, even more so than that, let's bring in the guide and put in a couple of little tick marks here, just so that we know, hey, we still cannot go past this line. And even beyond that, don't forget, we don't want to put in our flaps all the way up to that edge, because that's not going to work either. So we're still going to have to bring them in just a smidge towards the right. But again, we're getting our placement idea, making sure we can still see all our rings. We're going to ensure placement beforehand. So let's start with this bottom one here, because that one is a pretty sure bet. If you start with the bottom one, which is the largest one, the other ones will kind of fall into place. I'm lining up my tab on the bottom, and I'm also lining up my left, leaving just a smidge, not a whole lot. I mean, you can take it all the way to the edge of the page. You most certainly could, but I'm just going to line it up this way, open it up, make sure there's no glue on the bottom, clean up any over gluing. Okay, and that one is done. Let's clean that up there. And now we're going to do the top one, because the one in the middle is just going to fall in between those two. Again, I am keeping track, and then still moving, as you notice, a bit to the right, checking out how much room I have. I still have room without covering my golden ring, so not a problem. Going to glue that top one. Again, lining it up with the top. Making sure I'm straight. Opening it up to clean it up to make sure I don't have any over glue. And we're going to do some stuff here on the bottom of this later on. So, and now I'm going to slide this center one, and now I can make sure I can see both rings. I can see the ring there, both of them. Now this I'm trying to space with this other tab. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me get a sticky so you guys can see it better. Okay, there. I'm going to get another sticky, put it here. It kind of all blends in. It's easy for me to see, but again, I'm looking at those 2 spaces there, and I'm going to kind of line that up so I have my ring that is showing, and enough space from the other two. And when you're kind of happy and you make sure that that looks good to you, we're going to simply adhere that down as well. Okay, and here comes the center one. We're gonna again eyeball, making sure those rings are in place and that we're kind of leveled, not crooked. And then we're gonna press down, making sure it all looks great. And then we're gonna clean it up, just make sure it all looks clean. Any extra glue, clean that. And there we go. We've got our 5 golden rings. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. How pretty. And we've got our little flips and flaps that we're going to be embellishing and adding some more stuff to later on, but you can see all the mechanics or mechanisms behind this work perfectly, and it all fits. So that concludes 5 golden rings for now. So I think we still have time. Let's squeeze one more page in today, which is going to be number 6, and that's 6 geese are laying. Totally gorgeous. Love the colors on this. Great color combo. You've got all of your geese and the little ornaments and baubles. And on this one, what we're going to do is we're going to start by cutting our page down. Of course, it's going to be a very simple one, so that's why I thought we can add it in to today's video. So we are going to cut 7.5 from this right hand side. We are after these 2 ornaments right here, so you can either cut at 4.5, or I am just going to flip it around and I'm going to cut at 7.5. This is just my way to ensure that I do not make any mistakes. I keep it simple. That piece we're going to save for a bit. Okay, of course, now we need our height, so we're going to turn the page over and we are going to cut at 8.5 to get our height. And you'll notice that those ornaments are going to be perfect right on there. Okay, easy enough. These 2 pieces we're gonna save for later, so just go ahead and put those 2 in your scrap pile for now. Now we need to use our guide in order to create our holes, or to mark the holes. So let's bring that in, line it up like so. Bring in our pencil or marker and mark those 2 holes. Okay, perfect. That was easy. Told you that one's super easy. And actually, you know what? We are still under our time. So why don't we go ahead and do one more page, because I know that we can. Let's put this one off to the side. And the next one is also very easy. So we're going to bring in the 7 swans are swimming and our trimmer back to the table. Okay, from this gorgeous page, we're going to want to save 7.5 from the left hand side. So we are going to cut right here, and then we're going to have a strip on the right hand side. We're going to keep all of those beautiful ornaments. So 7.5. There we go. 7.5, cut. And then we are going to flip that page, but you see we're after those baubles there because they just look pretty. Now when we cut here, we're going to come right up to that swan right there. So we're going to cut right about here, and that's going to be 8.5, and cut. And now this is going to be underneath the page, but we're going to get to see all of this right here. Let's put this off to the side for just a second. Let's mark our page. Again, I always think it's super important to mark our pages because it gives us a really good idea of where we need to be for placement. And I'm saying this because I've learned that sometimes if you do not mark, you might forget to consider and respect that space and you end up gluing something wrong. Now in this one, it's not a problem because we're going to be working all the way on the right hand side, but we know we have to respect that space right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our next step, which is going to be to work with this piece right here. So we're going to grab this smaller piece. This one is 3.5 by 7.5. And we are going to work on this. So let's move this off to the side because we won't need that piece at all. Put that in your scrap box. Bring back your scoreboard, and we're going to score this one on 2 different places. We're going to lay it long ways, and we're going to score at 3.5, and we're going to score it at 7. And we need to score that with the beads facing up. So make sure that your little beads, your golden beads, are facing up towards you, and score at 3.5 and 7. Okay, and then we can put the scoreboard off to the side again. And what we're going to do is, of course, fold, pinch, fold and pinch, and then we're going to burnish that down, give it a really good crease. And then also this one right here. Okay, and this is going to become the pocket that is going to be on this page. So you can take a look at it. First, let's go ahead and cut some of these angles. You don't need to, it's not necessary. It just cuts off some of the extra bulk. Let's put it that way. Of course, you could turn this into a super cute envelope too if you wanted to by just turning it around. And you decide which side you like best. This side, this way, you could do it this way, or that. Flip it upside down, whichever way you like. I mean, it's pretty no matter which way you go, and we're not going to see a whole lot of it when it's covered, but what we are going to do is we're going to notch this. So go ahead and get your circle rounder. I think I'm going to do mine facing this way. Get your circle punch and notch this at the top. Now, if you do not have a circle punch, then you can always just trace a bottle or some kind of cap or anything that is round that you have in the studio. This is going to have this piece right on top of it. So as you see, while it's on there, you won't be able to see it, but the notch cannot go too high. So we're going to make a very shallow notch. And if you want to know center, we can bring in the 0 ruler. This is one of my favorite rulers and tools in the studio. It is 1 3/4 is going to be my center. And very simply, without doing any math, I simply find my 0, center it, and then just go back and forth until both my left and my right match at 1 3/4. I don't do math. For those of you who know me well, you know I don't do math. And you see how shallow I'm going to be punching this? That's because I don't want that to interfere with my little book once it's on here. So that is just about perfect. Okay, and with that done, we're not going to do anything else to it. We're going to come back later and add all kinds of stuff to this and make it work. But for now, we're just going to paper clip it and put it off to the side. We are at a little bit over 30 minutes and we have done all of these, prepped all of these pages. So I think we're going to call it quits for today. We're going to stop here and then resume tomorrow with the next pages. Reminding you, of course, that I am trying to get through some of these so that we can come back at the end and work on all the little details in order to finish out all of our pages. Once again, guys, if you are not in the Facebook group, I love to see your progress so far. Won't you go ahead and share with us your day 1, or at least your prep work, what you've done for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, we've gotten it pretty far, right? So I would love to see that. If you're not in the Facebook group, do join us there, where you can see tons of inspiration from other amazing crafters as well. And don't forget, in order to join the Facebook group, you must answer the questions. Otherwise, the automated assistant just cancels your request totally. I don't even get to see it. So please do answer those questions. And of course, to remind you that if you are interested in any of the products that you've seen here today, plus thousands more, that you can visit our 2 online stores. We have spectrumartcreations.com and the Etsy store. And if you have not joined us for our live Saturday sales, it is a must. Why? Well, because it's tons of fun. You get to see brand new product from all around the world. We specialize in bringing amazing products, stencils, mixed media, brushes, paints, inks, you name it. We've got it, dyes from all around the world. So join us on Saturday so you can see the product live, chat, answer questions, play along with giveaways, and so much more. Also, if you're not part of the Spectrum Art Creations Academy, well, what are you waiting for? It is a great place to be because in the Academy you get tons of exclusive classes, workshops, craft nights, game nights, craft alongs, you name it. You've got it, and then some. And those, of course, are exclusive content that are not available to anybody else unless you are a student or a VIP in Spectrum Art Creations Academy, or SACs Academy for short. So we definitely hope that you will check it out. I will leave a link to the Academy at the end of this video, so you can just click on that link and go find out more about what the Academy entails and how you can join and all that good stuff. And then, of course, I'm going to leave, after all of this is done, the next link for the next video here at the end as well, so you can just jump on to the next page. But of course, also remember, in the description box, you've got a full playlist day by day so that you can craft along as we complete this book. I will see you all at that next video. Thanks so much for joining us today. Bye.